Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the SOULKATION podcast. I am super excited because I have a special guest. Her name is Wendy Kim. She's the #1 international bestseller of the book Beyond Blending In, An Immigrant's Daughter's Guide to Overcoming Cultural Bonds for a Life of Authenticity and Abundance. She is a speaker and a business coach. Welcome to the SOULKATION podcast, Wendy.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Super excited.
I'm super excited to have you. She's so sweet, you guys, like so sweet. Anyway, we're going to get into it. So tell us about the writer, the mom, the coach, before you start doing all these things. Like, who were you before all of that?
Yeah. So just to let you know, for those of you listening, I am Asian. So I'm actually half Asian, half Caucasian, and I grew up biracial and lived in Pittsburgh, lived in Hawaii. So I've experienced different cultures even within the US, but never really felt like I fit in. Always felt like I had to kind of conform to make other people happy or accept me. And one of the things that I learned early on is if I achieved or was successful, did well in school, like went to a good college, that some people would accept me. And so that was the path I took. Like I studied hard, did well in school, went to a good university, got a great job. And then I also thought that that would make me happy. I just assumed that, okay, at some point this is going to make me happy. And then, of course, checked off the boxes of getting married, having 2 kids, having the house in the suburbs. And for me, it was like, I need to have the island in the kitchen. And I was like, that's the pinnacle of success. Meanwhile, also a secret that was kind of going on is that I would numb with shopping. So I was a total shopaholic and went to church. No one really knew this side of me. So there was a lot of like shame and a lack of authenticity in my life. So I was really successful in my career. I worked for PlayStation, was making good money. And then I'm like, wait, I have everything. Why am I not happy? And I was supposed to be happy. Society told me that if I did all these things, I would be happy. But the thing that I realized is I was living a life according to other people's expectations of me. So when I was in my late 30s, I was like, well, for the first time I asked myself, what do I want for my life? Because I had never asked myself that question. It was always, what do other people want for my life? And that's when I realized, you know what? I don't want to be doing this job. I don't want to work in a corporate job. I want to do something where I'm empowering people and supporting people so that they have their dreams come true. And specifically, I focus on the area of finances and business. And it was actually one of the hardest things I ever did to leave my corporate job. But it was definitely, I felt like God was calling me to do that. And it hasn't been easy, I will tell you that, but it's been so rewarding and so fulfilling to do the work that I do today.
Amen. So how can somebody listening, how can they avoid using shopping or food? Because, I love me some ice cream and a good brownie, honey. How can they walk away from the habit that they use for numbing? How did you stop shopping as much?
Yeah, I mean, there's several things that come to mind, but when ultimately it's asking why you're doing the numbing, So for me, I hated my job. I mean, I didn't always hate my corporate job, but at the point where right before I left, I was not fulfilled. I was not happy in that job. So I wasn't addressing it necessarily. So I'd work all day, put the kids to bed. I was stressed and overwhelmed. And then I'd just jump on Amazon and it was like my dirty little secret that nobody knew except my husband, because he would see, wait, why don't we have any money? Like, you're making good money. We're making good money. Why is there no money here? Oh, and why are all these Amazon boxes like in the front door? So like it was definitely addressing the fact that I wasn't happy. So when I actually started my business, I didn't really have time to shop and I didn't have the desire as much. So that was one thing, but definitely a lot of people, and myself included at that time, avoid dealing with your finances because they feel like they're scared. You know, you're scared and you're afraid, but actually that makes the problem much worse when you avoid dealing with it. And there's so many resources out there. Of course, that's part of my program, but Dave Ramsey, I actually am a trained Dave Ramsey coach. And if people just listen to his podcast, did Financial Peace University, that would really turn things around. Just having a budget. And there's so many resources out there, but the key is to actually take action, take the first step to get help. And there's no shame in getting help. We didn't learn these concepts growing up. They're not taught in the schools. So yeah, there's really, the help is out there. It's just, you have to go out and get it, you know?
What would be the first thing you would tell somebody that's in debt to do?
So I would say the first thing is to understand how much, to list out all of your debts and to actually list up all of your expenses versus your income. So a budget, basically. So the first step is to understand what the current situation is. Like most people, I ask them, okay, how much are you spending on groceries? No idea. How much debt do you have? I think it's around like 30 to 40. I'm not sure. I have that. Like they don't know what their debt is. And that's part of the issue. If you don't know what you're dealing with, right, it's very difficult to actually do anything about it. So I would say the first step is awareness. So one of the first things that I do with clients is, so I primarily work with entrepreneurs and executives. So my philosophy is you have to have a budget that works for you. So your finances have to work for you. You have to have a health routine that works for you. You have to have a schedule, time management that works for you, and have these pillars in place. Because if you're trying to change the world and you can't even get on a budget, or you can't even have a schedule that works for you,
yeah,
or you can't even clean out your closet, then you're not going to be able to make much progress, right? But when you get these pillars established in your life, then it gives you the confidence. And then you're in alignment, you're in integrity, and you're like, wait, maybe I can help someone.
That's so true.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So awareness, you would tell everybody to sit down and know their numbers, where they are, and not lie. Like,
yeah.
You spend $175 at the grocery store, don't write down that you only spend $100.
Correct. Yeah. And honestly, like, people tend to think they're the only ones that have these issues when, I mean, most people, especially in the American culture, have, like, I talk to people and it's like, they look good. They look good on the outside. They've got a nice car, nice house, nice clothes. And actually those people tend to be the ones where you're like, oh my gosh, like, you're in debt up to your eyeballs. That's how you got here. Even if you're making good money, like, people think, whether it's in business or with your personal finance, people think, oh, I just need to make more money and that will solve my problem.
Yeah.
That's not the case, because if you don't have your expenses worked out, if you don't have that rigor, then you just spend more money.
So true.
And that's the case in business too. I see a lot of people are just focused on revenue when it's like, well, what's your profit? Yeah.
That's so true. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast. And a lot of times we want to grow, we want to learn, we want to dig deeper always. So we've talked about this. I'm the one, okay, this is going to change my life. Right after this course, right after this class, right after this conference, my life is changed forever. And we just spend. And then we look up and it's like, when I did my taxes this year, I was shocked. Wendy. I would be so honest on how much I spent on self-development, which is great because it's self-development. Right. But when you're in debt and you're just looking at that number compared to what you brought in, it's heartbreaking. So what would you say to somebody that is a spender, even if it's in a great area in their life?
Yeah, that's a tough one because you know how much I believe in personal development myself, and I'll just be honest, like I've coached people who and that's part of my coaching, right? Like in a lot of cases I'm working with people who are not in the greatest financial situation, right? And sometimes I do believe that sometimes you do need to invest in something that is going to get you out of that situation, right? But I think that you also have to be careful because it can never stop. Like it could never end, right? There's so many programs, there's so many courses out there. And so again, I would just say it's about having a budget. If you have a business, you are going to want to spend in certain programs in your business over the course of a year, for instance. And so making sure, okay, here's my budget for personal development, making sure, and also making sure that you have your, so one of the things that I make sure you have your schedule set up so that you're also focusing on revenue generating activity. Because that's the thing, if you're just going to conferences and you're not putting the stuff into action, I'm sorry, like there's no point really. Like it's people get really psyched out by they think, oh, I had an aha moment, I had an insight and it was mind-blowing. Okay, but did you take that and put it into action? No? Okay, then it meant nothing. I'm sorry, right? Like it meant nothing unless you put it into action. So I think definitely you need to invest time, you need to invest money in personal development. However, you need to have a budget around it because it could literally just go, like you could spend your entire business revenue on personal development.
I've done that, people. Don't be like me, okay?
Oh yeah, like I was there, Logan, like when I first started, because you have a lot of, and I obviously as a coach, I believe in personal development. I mean, people invest in my program, right? But I think you have to ask yourself, so I invested in a coaching program that was a lot of money. And I think that's fine. However, I was trying to buy myself out of a problem. And the thing is, no matter what you invest in, it's not a magic pill.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like if you hire a coach, you need to actually listen to what they say. You need to be coached. Not that you're just blindly listening to what they say, but if they have a plan for you, you need to put it into action, right?
Yeah, that's
so yeah.
It's really dependent upon how you show up for your goals and what you want to execute. If you don't show up for them, your coach isn't going to do it for you.
Exactly. It's like playing a basketball game, right? Like if your coach is not going to play the game for you. That being said, I mean, part of my coaching is finding what people are hiding, right? And dealing with that.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
That's so
I
good.
love your questions, Logan.
Okay, so this is what's so interesting. My coach is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
He's a speaking and business coach. And I told him one day, I was like, can I be really honest? He was like, yeah, that's why we're here. He was like, I was like, there's so many great things and so many ideas you give me. And when I'm around you, I just think deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a full-time job. So
Yeah.
as many great things as you share with me, executing them outside of the 9 to 5, because I have to give my all at my job or they'll let me go, So there's no working at work. So after you leave work and you're putting in the time, you're putting in the grind, executing on all those ideas is.
I would say not the grind. I don't like that word because it's really your passion.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not a grind.
Yeah.
I'm really big into language, but anyway.
I do call it grind time or purpose time. My purpose time.
Purpose time. Okay, I like that one.
But I was asking him, basically, or I can ask you, how does somebody with a full-time job that has a dream, that is working on their purpose consistently, how do they find that time to implement those things that they've learned? What does that look like?
Great question. And that was definitely the case for me before I left my corporate job. So I think in your schedule, setting aside a certain amount of time. So if it could be like an hour a day. It could be like on the weekend you spend, I don't know, 1 day on the weekend. I don't think it needs to be like a huge amount of time, quite honestly. However, it needs to be productive and focused when you do have that time. Yes. So you have to, and it has to be consistent. So one of the things that I'm working on, and fellow author like you, so my book is, I'm looking to revise it. I'm looking to add content to it because I want to do more public speaking. And I think that would help, having more content. So anyways, I was sitting down and I had this looming thing in my head, like, oh my gosh, I have to work on this book, and to get it to a certain point, that's going to be a lot of work. So psychologically, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so much work. And so I have a certain word goal.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, I need to do like 15,000 more words for this book to be where I want it. And so I divided that by 500, and I was like, well, if I just do 500 words a day, which is 15 to 20 minutes, I'll be done within a month. That's not that bad. Right? And so that's what I've been doing. I put in 500 words, sometimes more, but I'm content with that. I'm not beating myself up like, oh my gosh, I should have had 800 words, or I should have 1,000 words. Like I'm really content and happy and proud of myself when I do the 500 words. So I would say having small goals and breaking things down, and not trying to do like 20 different things, but focusing on the 1 or 2 things that are going to move your business forward, and then breaking it down into small chunks and being happy and content with the work that you do. Because everybody's always like, oh, I should be there. I should be doing, I should be doing what Oprah's doing. Right? You know what I mean? And it's like, you're not even enjoying the journey. You're not, and that's the whole point of doing what we're doing, right? It's to enjoy the process.
Yeah, that's so funny that you said that. I was listening to her interview with Michael B. Jordan, and she told him, she was like, I just rushed through so many different things. And I see pictures of myself and I'm like, was I really there? I can't even remember myself being there. So now I'm more present and I'm focused on what's going on in that moment. And I'm not thinking about what's going to happen next or what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm literally focusing in on this moment. Because she was like, we rush past really special moments.
Definitely. Yeah. And for me, like I've had my business for about 5 years, And it's all, and I see this with my clients, and this is just human nature. I think we see people who seem like they're not necessarily farther ahead of us, but they seem farther ahead of us, right? They seem more successful, they seem more accomplished, and we look at them and we're like, why am I not like them? Instead of looking back at so one of the things that my girlfriend asked me to do is to look at, where were you 5 years ago, and to really be present to that. And when I look back at 5 years ago, I'm like, damn, I've grown so much, and so that's really like, if you live in this, like, even so I do rock climbing, and I've been doing it for a few years, and of course, like, it's very easy to look at people who are more advanced or more skilled, but I'm proud of myself. I'm just proud of myself for being on that wall. Yeah. I'm 40, going to be 42. I'm like one of the older people doing this, and I'm proud of myself. And I see these women who are just starting off, and they beat themselves up because they expect to be at a level of someone who's been doing it for 10 years. Mm. And it's like, no, like, you're amazing that you're even on the wall. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're going to have to go to the little rock climbing places here.
Yes, for sure. It's really fun. Really fun.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a lot of people who stay in their comfort zone for a little bit longer than usual because it's comfortable. Why step out? At least I have a good job. I got insurance. I can go to the dentist every now and then. So what would you say to those
people who just beautiful teeth like Logan?
I brush them often, everyone. I brush them often. What would you say to the person that just at least wants to dip their toe into figuring out what it is that they, want to do? Because some people just don't have clarity on what they want to do, but they know they want to get started with something.
Well, one thing is they could do a vision call with me.
Okay.
So you've done the vision call, so you can speak to that. That really helps you to get clarity on what you want in life and in business, and what you want to contribute to the world, as well as 6-month goal. So that would be one thing. I think so we get really stuck in our head. And that's what the vision call helps people with. Most of the time, most people you can't even get present to what you want because you're too busy thinking about, oh, I don't think I can do that. I'm not that kind of person. People who do that don't make money. Like, that's not practical. I don't know how to do that. So even before you've started to really dream or get present to what you want to do, it's just like your brain just shuts it down.
Yeah.
Because your brain wants you to stay comfortable, wants you to stay more in survival mode. So I call it survival versus thriving. When you want to thrive, you do have to get out of your comfort zone. You do have to do things that scare you, that push you. But survival mode is all about staying in your comfort zone, where you're just like, I know this is safe, this is comfortable, but I'm not feeling fulfilled. So I think getting really present, if you can just, so in the vision call, for instance, one of the questions I ask is, like, what would you do if time and money were no option, and how would you make a difference in the world? And so really trying to get people out of their head and really into their heart space. Yeah. So I think really being honest with yourself, like, what would you want to do for the world? What would you want to do in your life? What are you passionate about? And I guarantee there's someone out there doing that who's successful, who's fulfilled, and getting the mentorship, doing whatever it takes to get trained in that area. And that's really what my passion is, because so I've had many mentors, coaches myself, and I would not be doing without them. And so I want to impart that knowledge to other people.
Right.
And because if you're just on your own and you're just trying to figure it out on your own, it is hard and lonely. I'm sure you understand.
It is. And even in the moments where you have all the plans and the strategies, sitting down and doing the work is lonely, even in that moment. But having somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, that's a huge blessing.
Absolutely. And having people in your life who, I was talking to someone, we're starting to work together, and she was saying how her family and her boyfriend, actually, they were just like, go get a job, just go get a job. And I was bringing up the example of how Jesus couldn't do miracles in his hometown. A prophet is never honored in his hometown because so the people who we've grown up with, who were around a lot, they see us in a certain way, and they want to help us, they love us. But if you're trying to take on something new out of your comfort zone, especially doing something that most people aren't doing, like public speaking, having a business, they want to help you because they don't want you to fail. They don't understand that failure is actually part of the process, right? And yeah, they'll say things like, oh, that are well-meaning, well-intentioned, but are not necessarily going to empower you to fulfill on your dream, which is why having other people who are doing similar things is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so interesting because it's not that your family, they don't want you to make it or be successful or anything, but they had in their mind how your success was supposed to look. And if you go against what they picture for you, it's uncomfortable for them. So, and it's not that they're trying to, and 9 times out of 10, they're not even your client anyway. So it's just like, why, I don't even know why we try to impress them or get them to understand, a lot of times, with post and, speaking, 9 times out of 10, you're not talking to them anyway. So it's like, I don't know why we care so much to try to pull them into being a client or being a student of ours,
Yeah, well, it was interesting because with my mom, initially when I told her I was going to quit my job and have the business full time, she was very confused. It's just like, why would you leave like such a good company, making good money? I don't understand. And especially my mom comes from she's an immigrant and was very poor growing up in Korea, was very poor when she came to the US, not college educated. And so she really didn't get it. But I will say she was just, the way that I kind of appeased her is I was just like, Mom, I'm going to try it for a year. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go back to my corporate job. And that's the thing I would say to anybody. Like at the end of the day, the jobs will always be there. And I had to ask myself, well, I have this dream in my heart. Can I die not having tried? And I was like, no, I want to at least try and see. And if it doesn't work out, then I can always go back to my corporate job. And needless to say, that has not happened, thank God. But there were many, I'll be honest, there were many times where I thought about it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's easier. It's easier in some ways and it's harder in some ways. Like I like to use the analogy of a tiger. I really believe like we're kind of like tigers. I don't know if that's the Asian part of me, but yeah. So like if you take a tiger and from the wild and put it in a cage, it's gonna freak out, right? It's gonna freak out. It's gonna try and like run through the glass or the bars. It's going to try. And then it's eventually going to give up. And then it's going to just be dejected and sad. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a tiger at the zoo, but it's not that pretty, right? It's kind of, I mean, it's interesting, but you're like, oh, there's a part of you that's like, this magnificent creature should not be here.
Yeah.
But there's food and water.
That keeps
but that's not enough, right? You look at it, you're like, there's something wrong. And like when you see a tiger on the savannah, I mean, I've never actually seen that, but I've watched National Geographic, right? When you see a tiger running in the wild, it's just like, wow, that is magnificent.
They look more alive too.
Yeah, like on the hunt and just, okay, yeah, the food is not being shoveled in through a door, but a tiger is doing what it's meant to be doing. And I feel like that's the case for us. Like, I'm not saying, I'm sure there are people who love the corporate world. Maybe that's your dream. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that's not your dream, then yeah, you're gonna feel like that dejected, sad tiger in the cage, and the paycheck is that bowl of water or food coming in a couple times a day.
That's so true. It shows up every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for my water and my food.
Yeah, and it's there, but to be honest, like, especially starting out, I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a lot of mentors. So it was super hard. And I thought of giving up, and I actually hired my coach when I was like literally on the verge of going out of business. And that's what really turned it around. And that's why I'm so passionate about coaching. But I would say there were times, kind of like the Israelites. I'm using all the Bible analogies today, thanks to you, Logan. Kind of like when the Israelites were in Egypt, they were like, send us back to Egypt. We were slaves in Egypt, but we had food.
Yeah.
And they forgot, wait, like, we're free.
Yeah.
You know, we're in charge of our life now, but they wanted to be slaves again and have food. Yeah. So that does happen. And that's where having a coach to support you and get you reconnected to your vision and get you in action so you are focused on adding value and bringing in revenue really makes a difference.
Right. That's so true. I'm going to give you all some of the recaps that Miss Wendy has dropped, because there's been so many jewels. She said, avoid living a life of other people's expectations of you. Ask yourself, what is it that you really, really want, not what other people want. Don't try to buy yourself out of a problem. It's never going to work. Break down the big goals, the small goals, and focus on one or two things that's going to move your business forward. And ask yourself, can you leave here? Can you pass away and you have not tried? So important. So we're going to do some rapid soul questions, Wendy. Whatever comes to your mind first, just spit it out.
Okay.
Name one person you think is really funny.
My husband and my kids.
Nice. The last song you listened to.
Okay, it's called Strangeness and Charm by Florence and the Machine.
Oh, never heard of it.
Florence and the Machine, one of my favorite bands. You know that song, The Dog Days, the Dog Days. It's more like indie. They're a British band, but
yeah. Okay. What dessert can't you live without?
Creme brulee.
Really?
Yes.
You're so fancy, Wendy.
Yeah. Those bougie ways from when I was in the corporate world, right?
Yes. So what trait do you like and love about yourself the most?
I love that I love people. And at the end of the day, no matter who you are, there's something amazing and valuable and beautiful in every soul. And I love that I can connect with anyone on that level.
I love it. What is one product that you must use besides your phone and your laptop every day?
Every morning or every day?
Every day. A product.
Are we probably something related to food, because I'm definitely into food. I would say, well, okay, actually sort of related. It would be my alkaline water filter.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I have this water filter, and it makes your water alkaline, which just helps your body work better. So I would say that, because hydration is key.
Yes. I love it. If you could go to dinner with anyone, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. If you had asked me that question a year ago, I would have said Oprah, but now I'm kind of feeling like Michelle Obama. I mean, I recently listened to her book, and she's just amazing. And yeah, that would be tough. Can I choose Michelle Obama and Oprah?
Hey, it's your world, Wendy. Why not? Why not?
One of those, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Okay. So what book do you believe everyone should read?
One book? Oh, that's tough. Can I say two? I'm cheating on all these questions. I'm a cheater. I would say The Alchemist. Amazing book. I read that. I go back to that quite a bit. And Think and Grow Rich. It sounds like so, and that book confronted me so much, but it's really about having that powerful mindset.
Yeah, definitely. And so how can we support you? What are you looking to do next? How can the audience come? I know, if you don't mind sending me the link to your vision calls, I would.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there any other thing that you're going on?
So I would love to support you listeners with a free vision call. Any friend of Logan is a friend of mine. And I would say that I'm actually looking to follow in your footsteps, Logan, and get into the professional public speaking world, which is definitely beyond my comfort zone. I do some public speaking already, but really looking to take it to the next level. So if anyone in the audience wants me to come and speak to a group, I would be delighted.
Okay. And what are you looking for? Like which group?
Definitely. I mean, I am really passionate about women's empowerment. I'm really passionate about diversity, leadership, and getting out of your own way. Nice.
I love it. Thank you so much, Wendy, for coming on the SOULKATION podcast.
This was definitely a SOULKATION for me. Thank you so much, Logan. I mean, this was like the highlight of my week. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate you all.
Thank you so much. Make sure you all share this episode with your friends, and I will catch you on the next episode of the SOULKATION podcast. Have a good one.